SpaceX plans to launch 120 Starships a year from Florida, all to support NASA missions. But NASA itself is the one standing in the way. And no, they're not doing it on purpose. The infrastructure that once sent humans to the moon multiple times is now falling apart, and it can't keep up with what Starship demands. Even if NASA wanted to fix it, there are policies in place that make it nearly impossible to do so. This is one of the strangest contradictions in the history of spaceflight, and it's happening right now. To understand how this all unfolded, you need the backstory first. If you've been following SpaceX for a while, you already know they signed a deal with NASA to build a lunar lander called Starship HLS. Simple idea, NASA writes the check, SpaceX builds the ship. But here's where it gets complicated. To actually get a Starship to the moon, SpaceX needs a minimum of 15 refueling flights in orbit before it can even leave for the moon. 15 flights, just to fill the tank for a single mission. And if SpaceX eventually wants to send a whole fleet of Starships to deliver cargo for NASA's planned lunar base, that number jumps to somewhere between 70 and 150 launches per mission campaign. Yeah, a crazy number. That's exactly why SpaceX needs an insane launch cadence. So, on top of the 2 pads already under construction at Starbase in Texas, Elon Musk flew to Florida and started building 3 more, with SpaceX's own money, just to keep up with what NASA needs. And Florida wasn't a random choice. It's on the East Coast, closer to the equator than Texas, which gives you a better orbital trajectory for low Earth orbit and lunar missions. Oh, and NASA, SpaceX's biggest customer, is literally right there waiting. If you look at what SpaceX is actually building in Florida right now, you'll understand just how serious they are. First up is Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center, the exact pad Neil Armstrong left Earth from on July 16, 1969. SpaceX is building a Starship launch pad there, and it's nearly done, using the same design as Pad 2 at Starbase. But 39A only supports 44 launches per year. To hit 120, they need a second site. That's where Space Launch Complex 37, SLC-37, comes in, located at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, about 6 miles south of 39A. 2 Starship launch towers are planned there, adding another 76 launches per year. Do the math. 44 from 39A plus 76 from SLC-37 equals exactly 120 launches a year. All 3 pads are expected to be operational sometime around 2027 or 2028 if SpaceX stays on schedule. But SpaceX's schedule and NASA's reality are 2 very different things. And NASA might just be the thing that derails all of it. Because the ground SpaceX is building on, literally, is falling apart. In June 2026, NASA's Office of Inspector General, the agency's own internal watchdog, released an audit report on Kennedy Space Center's launch infrastructure. And they didn't sugarcoat it. Their exact words, the infrastructure is dated and often does not provide the capacity to meet the growing demands of the agency and its partners. That's not a critic talking. That's NASA auditing itself. And what they found is worse than most people realize. The entire road and bridge network at Kennedy Space Center, 231 miles of paved road and dozens of bridges, was mostly built in the 1960s. Designed for the Apollo program, low frequency, predictable loads, and absolutely nobody planned for a 400-foot rocket rolling through every few days. Today is a completely different story. In 2019, there were 1,056 truck trips in and out of KSC supporting launches and construction. By 2025, that number was 8,852, a 347% increase. And when Starship becomes fully operational in Florida, NASA estimates it will add another 19,000 truck trips per year just to move hardware, propellant, and materials. Some bridges have already exceeded their design life. The bridge over the Banana River, the main corridor connecting Cape Canaveral Space Force Station to KSC's industrial area, is not only old, it's too steep for Blue Origin's New Glenn boosters to cross. Every time Blue Origin needs to move a booster, they have to take a 20-mile detour past LC-39A. NASA and the Space Force have flagged replacing this bridge as high priority. No funding has been approved. Now, here's the part that should actually concern you. The entire electrical distribution system powering Launch Complex 39A and 39B, the grid that both SpaceX's Starship and NASA's SLS depend on, was built during the Apollo era and runs through underground conduits made of something called Orangeburg pipe. It's a material made from compressed wood fiber and coal tar with a 50-year useful life. They stopped making it in the 1970s. Parts of it have already collapsed, which means you can't add or replace any electrical cables running through those sections. If one of the existing cables fails, both 39A and 39Bs lose redundant power, something KSC officials describe as an unacceptable condition to operate in. And the transformers at the end of that line, at the C5 substation, aren't doing much better. 2 of the 3 main transformers were installed in 1995 and have already hit their 30-year design life. Florida's heat and humidity are actively corroding them. If they fail, experts estimate it would take at least a month to fix. And during that month, nobody launches anything. There is a project planned to replace the duct banks and transformers, estimated at $136 million, but it can't start until the end of fiscal year 2026 and will take years to complete after that. In the meantime, America's 2 biggest goals in the space race, returning humans to the moon and eventually reaching Mars, are sitting on top of an electrical system that is literally rotting underground. And here's something most people haven't realized. Even after the upgrades are complete, the system will only have a total capacity of 30 megawatts. A single Starship launch, with its high-speed propellant loading and industrial-scale air separation unit, could potentially exceed the entire available power supply at LC-39A on its own. SpaceX is working around this in the short term by installing Tesla Megapacks at the pad, but that's a band-aid, not a long-term fix. On top of all that, there's another problem that doesn't get talked about enough. The nitrogen and helium supply systems serving the launch pads cannot support multiple users at the same time. Nitrogen and helium are non-negotiable for fueling and operating any rocket. The entire pipeline network across KSC and Cape Canaveral runs off a single shared supply at one uniform pressure. What that means in practice, according to the OIG report, when NASA's SLS is being fueled with nitrogen at LC-39B, the system physically cannot simultaneously supply Blue Origin's New Glenn at LC-36, or ULA's Vulcan Centaur at LC-41. One rocket fuels, everyone else waits. This isn't hypothetical. It already happened. Blue Origin confirmed it was a serious scheduling problem during preparations for the New Glenn 1 mission in January 2025. And looking ahead, whenever NASA fires up SLS for an Artemis mission, the pipeline could go dark for 1 to 2 months for everyone else on the Cape. There is a project to build a new supplemental nitrogen system to fix this. Cost $25 million, still unfunded. $25 million. For context, that's the kind of money Elon Musk could snap away like Thanos before lunch. But it's not that simple, and this is where the legal trap comes back into the picture. Most of the launches out of Florida these days are from private companies. SpaceX, Blue Origin, ULA. They're all using NASA's infrastructure, but under current law, NASA cannot collect enough money from these companies to actually pay for maintaining and upgrading that infrastructure. Any commercial investment into NASA-owned infrastructure is considered an unauthorized budget augmentation, a violation of the Anti-Deficiency Act, which prohibits NASA from spending federal funds without congressional approval. Even when NASA indirectly benefits from that infrastructure, the law still ties their hands. The Space Force, on the other hand, which manages most of Cape Canaveral, can freely accept money, services, and equipment from commercial partners to upgrade its own facilities. That's exactly why SpaceX was able to fund the widening of Saturn Causeway with zero legal pushback. NASA cannot do the same thing on its own property. The result? NASA's construction and maintenance budgets have dropped between 11 and 47% in real terms over the last 5 years, while the infrastructure keeps aging and the workload keeps growing. According to the OIG report, NASA's goal is to renew its infrastructure once every 66 years. At the current budget pace, that number is actually once every 260 years. NASA is currently working with the Office of Management and Budget on a bill called the Space Ready Act, which would allow Kennedy Space Center to accept financial contributions from private partners for shared infrastructure projects. It hasn't passed yet. Congress did allocate $250 million through the H.R. 1 reconciliation bill last year, but NASA estimates the full cost of upgrading everything is at least $1 billion. They have a quarter of what they need. The OIG report has a specific deadline in mind, late 2028, early 2029. That's when the total number of launch and pre-launch activity days, wet dress rehearsals, static fires, scrubs, the whole campaign, could equal or exceed the number of days in a calendar year. No downtime, no maintenance windows, no room for anything to go wrong. And that's exactly when Artemis 3 is scheduled. A mission that requires SLS, New Glenn, and multiple Starships to launch within days of each other. With the current infrastructure, that scenario alone could choke the nitrogen pipelines, create a power fight between launch pads, and push the schedule back by months. So, what does SpaceX's future in Florida actually look like? It's not a simple answer. SpaceX is doing everything right on their end. Gigabay nearly done, 39A coming together, SLC-37 already stacking its first tower module. If nothing goes sideways, technically, the first Starship launch from Florida could realistically happen late 2026 or early 2027, ramping up toward 44 launches a year from 39A, then hitting 120 once SLC-37 is fully operational. But that cadence depends entirely on whether the infrastructure underneath, power, gas, roads, can keep up. And that part is completely outside SpaceX's control. It belongs to NASA and the Space Force. One thing worth noting, the Space Force, which manages SLC-37, has far more legal flexibility to accept commercial funding than NASA does. That means the Cape Canaveral side of things could move faster than the KSC side. The $250 million from H.R. 1 will start addressing the most critical pressure points, electrical, gas pipelines. But it's nowhere near enough to fix everything at once. NASA will have to pick its battles. The real question isn't whether SpaceX will hit 120 launches a year. It's when, and the answer depends less on rocket engineering and more on congressional votes, federal budgets, and how fast construction crews can replace underground nitrogen pipes that nobody ever thinks about.